This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Welcome to This Week in Connecticut. It is Sunday, November 16th, 2025. Straight ahead today, he's running. Governor Lamont sits down to talk about his run for a third term, his plans for re-election, and what he hopes to accomplish if elected. The woman behind the Place to Be restaurant chain in legal trouble after a high-profile arrest. Today, Gina Laurie tells me her version of events. The stressful, difficult job of a police officer, especially during the Jacqueline Torres Garcia case. Farmington Chief Paul Melanson will talk with me. And thousands helped at the Hartford Healthcare Medical Mission. We'll take you there. First up on This Week, the lead. Governor Lamont surprised no one this week when he finally announced he is running for a third term. For much of this year, the governor hinted that he was leaning that way, and over the summer, it became clear that that was his plan. I first interviewed the governor 20 years ago when he was running for the Senate, and we sat down this week at the Charter Oak International Academy in West Hartford to talk about his next campaign. Governor, thanks so much for sitting with us today to talk about your run for a third term.
Nice to see you, Dennis.
Good to see you. I first interviewed you 20 years ago when you were running for the U.S. Senate. When you look back 20 years ago, what have you learned about running for office since then?
Stand up for what you believe. That was a bit of a Hail Mary pass back then in 2005, but I really felt strongly that the war in Iraq was the wrong thing for America and for Iraq. So I got involved and I made my case. And I got to know the people of Connecticut along the way, and I've stayed involved ever since, running for governor.
You've told me this year that you really love the job. You've said it for years, actually, that you love being governor and that you were leaning toward running. What pushed you over the top to make that final decision to run?
Look, I do love the job. I come out of the business world. I was an executive. The idea of going down to Washington, D.C. and all that back and forth does not float my boat. Being an executive here in this state, turning around a state that I think was in a world of hurt 8 years ago, gets me energized every day. We're just getting started.
And what's your response to people who say, well, 2 terms is enough?
We have a lot of work to do. Look, I came into office 8 years ago, say 2018. We're looking at $2 billion deficits as far as the eye could see. They had a hard time getting a budget last time. A lot of people leaving the state. Morale was down. I've tried hard to turn that around. We've had 7 balanced budgets in a row. A lot of people moving into the state or staying in the state. Then we got derailed by COVID. Now I've got Trump. So there's always something going on. But I think we're in a position to really make a difference for the next 4 years.
That 2-term comment, by the way, came from Democrats who want to run for governor and want your job. Just kidding. Let's talk a little bit about how would you characterize what's going on in Connecticut right now in terms of the time and history we are in?
It's a transition. Look, we went through a tough, 50 years. A lot of manufacturing was leaving the state and leaving the country. Our cities were shrinking. Today, our manufacturing is stabilized. Our unemployment rate is less than national average. Our economy is growing again, 10th fastest in the country last cycle. But we still have a way to go. And I got to rebuild our cities, make sure there's housing there for young people to be in, keep our budget balanced, make sure we have the resources to invest in our future.
Let's talk about some of these priorities for this third term, and namely housing in the cities. Where do you see it going, and how much do we need?
Every single business I talk to, they say, Governor, will there be housing for young people, single people, workforce housing? Where will that be? Do you have vibrant urban cities? Because there's sort of a stereotype of Connecticut. It's a little more suburban. And for the first time in a long time, like I said, our cities are growing again. We're building a lot of housing in our cities and our small towns. It's a big priority. If you're serious about affordability and opportunity, it starts with housing.
Let's talk a little bit about jobs and manufacturing and even corporate jobs. What do you see as part of your next term in terms of attracting companies to come to Connecticut?
I think that we have the wind to our back. It's going to be much more intellectually charged jobs going forward. We have the most sophisticated advanced manufacturing in the country. We're growing that. A lot of our big manufacturers want to get the supply chain closer to home. You think of AI and quantum, that plays to a state like ours, which has a very well-educated workforce. Keep those jobs here in the state and growing.
There are some who say with what's going on in New York, the big change, new mayor there, that it could be a good opportunity for Connecticut to maybe snag some businesses or snag some new residents. Have you heard anything about that you can share with us today?
Look, I wish New York City the best, and I will work with Mayor Mamdani and do what we can. Their success is our success. More directly, though, are people reaching out to Connecticut? You bet they are.
companies are calling your office saying, I want to move?
Companies are calling. Obviously, the real estate brokers, especially in the southern part of the state, their phones are ringing off the hook.
What's the next step? Do you offer them incentives to move, or do you think they'll just come anyway?
Let's slow down. But I do tell the advantages of this state. I mean, we've got our fiscal house in order. We were able to reduce taxes, lots of job opportunities, free community college will train your people going forward. There are a lot of good reasons to be in the state of Connecticut. I don't have to knock New York City to get them here.
Who would you rather face in the election next year, Ryan Fazio or Aaron Stewart?
I don't think about it. I really don't. I know them both pretty well. I focus on my job. I let the politics take care of itself.
Your closest advisor is your wife, Ned Lamont. Did she take convincing to run for a third term, or was she on board from the beginning?
I think she was on board from the beginning. She is. She's my North Star, and every day I talk to her first thing, end of the day. Unfortunately, she's down there, and I'm up here a lot during the week. She's working really hard, investing in healthcare, making a difference, but she cares as deeply about this state as I do. We do this together. You
lost the Senate race in 2006, run for governor in 2010. When you look back at those days and look at where you are now, what goes through your mind?
First of all, never give up. Just dust yourself off and get back in the game. And you got to introduce yourself to the people of Connecticut. They got to have a better sense of who you are. I think Connecticut, you and I, we've been through a lot this last 8 years. We've been through a lot. I think I've gotten to know this state really well. I love this state. I think they've gotten to know me and know that I really care about making this a better place for your kids and their kids.
Governor Lamont, best of luck. Thanks for sitting down with us.
Thanks, Dennis.
We'll see you again.
When we come back, the owner of Place to Be.